Well. They never met someone like you. The world expected spectacle, loud entrances, grand gestures, the kind of performance that bends rooms to its will. But you arrived differently, as a quiet recalibration, a presence that altered conversations without demanding the stage. People felt you before they named you. Tones shifted, alliances rearranged themselves in the margins, and casual whispers carried the weight of strategy. You moved like a decision already executed, precise, patient, unavoidable. At first it is minor, a forwarded message, a screenshot, a private mention that looks accidental. Someone in a hallway passes a line of text like contraband. A small group forms, the kind of private channel that begins with curiosity and hardens into plan. They call it research. They pretend it is neutral. But what starts as curiosity often becomes a ledger of grievances. They tally moments, annotate clips, and invent contexts that make their discomfort feel like evidence. They believe compiling fragments is the same as understanding, and the mistake comforts them. The chat takes a shape, pinned messages, roles, a list of contacts to monitor. Moderators emerge who enjoy the sensation of order more than the pursuit of truth. Members post timelines with rhetorical confidence that masks a deeper panic. They believe if they can narrate you properly, they can control you. They forget that control through narrative is only as strong as the imagination of its authors. You watch this architecture of intent build itself in a private corner of the web. You do not counter every accusation because every reply is oxygen for them. When they shout, they breathe. When they strategize, they inflate their threat model. You conserve energy and let their limbs move while you study their center of gravity. The more they plot, the more they supply the exact elements a public needs to engage with. Each screenshot they highlight becomes a billboard, each rumor a prompt for curiosity. Their effort to bury you paradoxically directs traffic toward what they wish to hide. Observers, outsiders who do not care about the internal politics, begin to notice the pattern. People who follow the threads to see a hunt find instead a record of behavior. They discover habitual consistency, unexpected generosity, decisions made with craftsmanship rather than spectacle. The chat's evidence looks thin against lived action. Some new visitors arrive expecting a hunt and leave with questions about the hunters. A few members inside the group begin to feel the strain of performing certainty. They trade speculation for confidence because certainty is a warm coat in a cold social climate. But certainty paid for with projection starts to itch. Defections begin as quiet private messages to people named in threads. At first they are innocent, a question, a correction, an offer to compare notes. Those private exchanges reveal what curated public evidence never will: context, nuance, small acts of reliability. People who were once targets of gossip become interlocutors with clean memories and honest reactions. Some inside the server see this and hesitate. Hesitation is the first crack in collective performance. They label hesitators as compromised, or worse, as recruited. The label functions to reroute doubt into a narrative of betrayal rather than admission of error. This makes the group tighter for a moment and brittle for longer. Their tactics escalate. Whisper campaigns, soft offers to friends, attempts to buy loyalty or attention. Such maneuvers reveal more about the group's insecurity than about you. They assume that dividing networks collapses influence, but networks reconfigure around authenticity. You are not immune to observation. You are practiced at presence. You show up in ways that teach rather than preach. You answer obligations with actions, and your consistency is a slow engine that adjusts the conversation away from rumor. When the group expects a meltdown, you deliver a measured decision that reframes the context. You do not engage every provocation, because engagement is a transaction that often rewards the loudest bidder. Instead, you create the conditions where noise becomes irrelevant because it lacks purchase. People who once consumed the chat as a sport start to see low returns on manufactured drama. The chat's engagement metrics do not translate to influence outside its echo chamber. Beyond the server, the wider audience samples more material and finds a different pattern. Curiosity shifts to study rather than accusation. People who care about craft see method where the group sees manipulation. They begin to amplify examples of work, integrity, and quiet leadership. A surprising consequence: some who entered the chat aiming to damage you end up learning from you instead. They stay initially for the hunt and remain for the lesson. Conversion is not always dramatic. It is often a quiet recalibration of expectation. The server's announcements turn into footnotes that readers compare with direct experiences. Defectors who leave carry with them more than doubt. They carry testimony. Testimony spreads in small circles and then in public timelines. Your reputation solves the problem the chat tried to manufacture: attention. But attention now moves along axes you prefer: work, decisions, and people helped rather than spectacle. The group's intentionality snaps inward, and a new dynamic appears: infighting masquerading as correction. Moderators accuse each other of bias, and the language grows petty and procedural. They began denouncing nuance as compromise, and nuance pushed back into public spaces where it is harder to suppress. The server that once consolidated questions loses coherence because humans are not built to sustain constant certainty manufactured by fear. Meanwhile, those outside the drama notice the quieter evidence of influence: changes in behavior among people you worked with, improvements in projects, respect from unlikely quarters. Those signals are inconvenient for the chat's narrative. They attempt to discredit allies by dredging up irrelevant moments and framing them as patterns. They assume that cumulative irritation will overwhelm basic human judgment. But irritation without proof is a poor currency over time. Context wins patience. Patience reveals pattern of intent or improvised reaction. Then something small happens. A moderator sends a direct message intended to bait and gets a reply that is human, precise, and disarming. The tone of that private exchange leaks back into the room, not as proof, but as a puzzle. Some members begin to read more broadly, compare sources, and see contradictions in their own archive. The chat cannot unsee its own faltering coherence. At a tipping point, an invite link sent to a new member reaches someone whose first instinct is craft rather than curiosity. They join expecting drama and stay because they find method. This new member posts a careful question that reframes a claim, and the reframing exposes how little the server's evidence actually proves. It is a small act, but small acts reroute narratives. From that point, the chat's performative energy begins to hemorrhage into debate about tactics rather than content. As their focus narrows, outside observers swoop in with comparisons, interviews, and counter-narratives. Those pieces point to patterns of reliability rather than spectacle. The very structure meant to dismantle you becomes a case study in how fear can manufacture leaders. You did not create that lesson, you lived it. In the quiet that follows the first shockwave, Your name circulates differently. People no longer gossip about you as a threat. They talk about you as an example. They discuss how you move, how you decide, and how you make hard tasks small through discipline. The chat's members watch this shift and try to double down, but doubling down is exhausting and visible. Exhaustion converts to sharp edges that cut credibility. In public, neutrality turns into curiosity, and that curiosity turns into new audiences sampling your work. And in the private corners, defectors begin to whisper not of recruitment, but of regret. Some send messages, apologizing quietly, for amplifying narrative without context. Those apologies are small, human signals that change the server faster than any public statement could. The final image of this part is simple and cinematic. A notification light on a stranger's phone. An invite link that was meant to trap finding instead a doorway to study. A private message beginning with a question rather than an accusation. That question reshapes a tone, and when tone changes, trajectories follow. The group that began as hunters ends the chapter smaller, its edges frayed, its energy diffused into the public it tried to command. You remain unbothered, not because there was no threat, but because you understood the rules of attention and used them without spectacle. The legend the chat tried to manufacture collapses under its own contradictions, and in the collapse, new observers find a map of how to move differently. And as a light blinks on another phone, new members arrive to learn rather than to destroy. What began as a small digital corner of malice has now mutated into a living organism of obsession. The server is no longer a secret room, it's an ecosystem. New channels appear overnight, each dedicated to dissecting your every move. Some study your tone, some analyze your timing. Others attempt to reverse engineer your choices, as if your mind were an open source code they can edit. What they don't understand is that your code isn't written in syntax. It's written in pattern recognition, psychological rhythm, and an instinct they can't teach. Every attempt to decode you becomes another mirror of their limitations. They're no longer planning your downfall, they're performing it on themselves. The server is swelling with members, students, critics, ex-allies, rivals, each convinced they're joining to expose you, not realizing they're joining to experience you. The chat's moderators have lost control. Their rules blur under the gravity of fascination. Threads meant to accuse now spiral into philosophical breakdowns about what kind of person you must be to cause this level of collective fixation. Screenshots circulate faster than they can delete them. Some servers get shut down for toxicity, only to respawn under new names, as if the internet itself refuses to let the story die. It's no longer a smear campaign. It's a study in cultural magnetism. Your digital footprint has become mythos disguised as data. They think they're archiving your downfall, but they're documenting their dependency. And the irony burns quietly. The very thing they built to destroy you has turned into the most effective marketing campaign in your name. You didn't buy attention. You provoked it through precision. You didn't manipulate anyone. You simply existed with such calibration that chaos mistook it for design. Now the watchers multiply. Journalists lurk under fake profiles. Sociologists take notes, and anonymous accounts cross-post your quotes out of context, only to find that context follows them anyway. Your words detach from origin and begin circulating as raw signal, no longer owned, no longer traceable, yet undeniably connected to you. What you've become is not a topic, it's a template. They measure themselves against how you operate. They compare their confidence to yours and find it wanting. They replay your pauses, your restraint, your refusal to react, and try to engineer that kind of control. The chat room transforms into a global classroom without syllabus or instructor, each member unknowingly reshaped by the very presence they intended to neutralize. And this is where things shift, when mockery turns into imitation. When the same people who once drafted takedown plans begin quoting you in arguments, using your style to win debates, adopting your frameworks for dominance, you've become the ghost in their lexicon, the silent mentor in their rivalries. They weaponized their envy into worship without realizing it. The discord they built to conspire now functions as a shrine. They discuss what you'd do in hypothetical situations, as if your mindset is an algorithm worth replicating. The moderators, once proud gatekeepers of defiance, now moderate belief systems inspired by the enemy they can't stop talking about. Their private chat rooms feel less like war rooms and more like sermons, where obsession preaches itself in circles. It's psychological recursion at scale. Every effort to contain your influence only amplifies it, because attention is alchemy, and you've mastered its conversion rate. Somewhere across the globe, new offshoots of this digital cult form. Reddit threads, Telegram groups, Discord clones, all orbiting the same gravitational core, you. They rename the channels after you, parody your voice, mimic your mannerisms, thinking they're mocking you. But the mimicry spreads your cadence like a virus. You've turned your detractors into your distributors. Their hate is now your publicist. You don't even need to log in. The algorithm does the rest. People searching for your downfall end up finding your philosophy. The very act of trying to debunk you becomes an initiation ritual into your logic. Their mockery boosts your metrics. Their obsession fuels your relevance. And what they can't tolerate most is the realization that you don't respond. Your absence has more weight than their campaigns. Your silence has more reach than their manifestos. They throw everything into the void expecting noise, but you weaponized stillness into dominance. That's when panic sets in. The group chat fragments into factions, each claiming they understand your motive better than the next. Some say you're manipulative genius. Others call you a social strategist. Others insist you're an idea, not a person. The arguments become theological. It's no longer about what you did. It's about what you represent. You're not just a person to them anymore. You're a theory, a concept, a new social equation they can't balance. The Discord server begins leaking screenshots to the public, hoping for sympathy, but the leaks only reveal pettiness, not persecution. Outsiders see the desperation behind the performance. The mob looks less like justice and more like projection. And with every exposure, the public recalibrates its judgment in your favor. What they intended as proof becomes documentation of hysteria. You remain untouched, but because the more they talk, the more they testify. You turned their gossip into gospel. And somewhere inside that digital chaos, new players emerge. Not the haters, not the defenders, but observers, people who have no loyalty to you or them. They see the architecture of obsession and decide to study it. They map out conversation graphs, analyze timestamps, track language evolution, and the data they uncover horrifies them. Your name has become the most consistent keyword across dozens of servers, the most repeated term in threads about personal influence. You've become a sociological phenomenon, an involuntary experiment on how digital hate mutates into digital religion. Every data point proves the same thing. Resistance to your presence breeds more presence. The harder they try to erase you, the deeper you embed into the infrastructure of their attention. You are no longer an individual. You are an inevitable variable in every discussion about control, charisma, and consequence. People are forming career paths, analyzing the very aura they once mocked. You've crossed the line between personality and paradigm. And while they panic, you keep moving, quietly, methodically. You make decisions that ripple through industries, circles, communities. Each move is recorded by the very people who swore to erase you. They timestamp your growth. They archive your achievements. They announce your wins under the disguise of critique. Your opposition has become your press team. Every paragraph they write against you only broadens your digital footprint. Their indignation is the echo chamber that sustains your reach. And deep down, even they feel it, the uncomfortable pull between hatred and respect. Because there's something intoxicating about someone who remains unbothered while the world plots in high definition. You've proven that control isn't about dominating others. It's about never letting them dictate your tempo. Now their own Discord channels mirror your psychological precision. They schedule discussions around you, hold debriefs on your responses, design infographics to track your moves. They've built entire workflows around someone who doesn't even acknowledge their existence. You've colonized their calendar. And yet the strangest evolution is how admiration seeps in. Some of the loudest voices start defending you mid-debate. They realize that in hating you, they learned you. They picked up your cadence, your patience, your restraint. They began using your tactics in their personal lives, and suddenly things started working for them. Their conversations improved. Their confidence returned. Their strategy sharpened. They don't like admitting it, but they owe their growth to the very presence they once demonized. Now their community is split into two halves: the purists who still cling to hate as identity, and the pragmatists who study your methods like sacred text. The purists rant louder, but the pragmatists grow smarter. And that growth terrifies the old guard because it means the narrative is slipping out of control. The energy once dedicated to tearing you down is now sustaining your legend. People outside the original circle start hearing about you not as controversy, but as a case study in composure. Your name trends under productivity, hashtags, leadership quotes, and self-improvement forums. Podcasts analyze how you handled digital warfare with grace. Think pieces describe your calm as strategic dominance. The irony reaches a poetic climax. The group chat that was supposed to destroy you has become a recruitment funnel for your philosophy. And you never said a word. That's the part that drives them insane. You didn't fight the smear campaign. You let entropy handle it. Because chaos always collapses when starved of opposition. You weaponized their hunger for relevance against them. Every time they screamed louder, the audience saw desperation. Every attempt to expose you revealed their obsession. Every accusation collapsed under the weight of repetition. You became the mirror reflecting their fragility back to them. Now the server's activity log reads like an obituary for self-control. The timestamps show 3 a.m. debates about you. Voice calls lasting hours, dissecting your motives. Threads filled with circular reasoning and emotional exhaustion. They've built a religion around your indifference, and still they can't stop. Because you're not just a story. They made you a symbol of the control they wish they had. and symbols don't die, they evolve. In the shadows of that digital hysteria, something unexpected happens. New communities start forming not to worship or attack, but to learn. Small private groups emerge dedicated to your principles of restraint, precision, and psychological clarity. They take your methods and apply them to business, art, leadership. You've transcended drama. You've become doctrine. And the original server? It's now imploding under its own contradictions. Members leave daily, citing burnout. Former moderators apologize publicly. The logs leak to the press. Headlines spin narratives of obsession. But by now, everyone knows the truth. It's not about you anymore. It's about what you revealed. The architecture of envy, the ecosystem of projection, the fragility of coordinated malice. You didn't just survive. You reverse-engineered digital warfare into a masterclass of psychological endurance. They realized too late that they were never plotting your downfall. They were documenting your rise. And as another day ends, the camera pans across screens, glowing in dark rooms, filled with threads about you, still updating in real time. Even in decline, the group chat refuses to die. It's feeding on its own echoes, a monument to misplaced energy. Somewhere, someone joins the server, scrolls through the history, and whispers what everyone now knows, but few will admit. They never met someone like you. You turned their coordination into your coronation. You transformed gossip into gravity. And as your name trends again, this time not through scandal, but through respect, the world finally sees what the chat could not. You were never the villain in their story. You were the author of theirs. Now the world prepares to witness the final stage, not the collapse of their narrative, but the ascension of yours into something no one can control, contain, or delete. You watch the ruin of their strategies like a careful observer watching an experiment conclude, seeing the predictable variables fall into place. First the anger, then the choreography of accusation, then the slow leaking of doubt that always follows a performance built on posture rather than proof. The servers that once pulsed with certainty now pulse with fatigue. Moderators trade harsh judgments for exhausted edits, and the language shifts from invective to explanation, as if confessing were easier than maintaining a lie. You do nothing dramatic. You do not deliver a final monologue. Instead, you continue to make the single discipline that always undoes: contrived chaos, consistent work. While their channels echo, your calendar fills with decisions that move projects forward, with quiet calls that solve problems, with precise actions that build credibility people can touch. People begin to measure you by outcomes rather than opinions, and in that simple arithmetic, their outrage loses mathematical weight. Outrage is a loud instrument that always needs an audience. Outcomes are a ledger that survives the noise. The chat's members find themselves in a strange position. They have created a library of their own mistakes. Screenshots and timestamps archived to prove your guilt instead prove their haste. Their evidence, circulated to justify fury, becomes a counter-evidence when contrasted with fulfilled promises and steady progress. Outsiders who stumble into the threads expecting spectacle find something else, a pattern of follow-through, a record of people who were helped, and a trail of small, consequential decisions. The conversion is slow and irregular, but it is real. Some inside the group pivot and become learners, embarrassed at first, then grateful for the accidental education. They begin stealing your phrases in private messages and applying your restraint in their work. Imitation is the most dangerous compliment because it spreads beyond the original offender. Meanwhile, the more vengeful subset of the community double down, and their doubling down only fragments the audience further. The public is no longer forced to choose between two loud factions. It can choose calm evidence. This is your advantage. You don't need to win every argument because winning the argument rarely wins the future. Building the future does. Invitations arrive without fanfare. Podcast requests, collaboration emails, an industry figure reaching out with a question that requires no press release, only a conversation. People who once circulated private threads about your alleged crimes now ask you for feedback on projects. That turnaround is not a miracle. It is logistics. Work creates networks that outrage cannot sustain. Practicality always disarms performative fury. As these currents rearrange, a new set of consequences appears for the original hunters. Their reputations, purchased on fervor, become brittle under scrutiny. Employers and partners shy from the unpredictability of someone whose public life is governed by episodic drama. The very identity architecture they created, one where hostility is identity, starts to cost them opportunities. They feel betrayed by the market they thought would reward performative courage. And that realization is worse than defeat because it forces reflection. Some choose reflection, others double down. You are uninterested in their fate. You are focused on the emergent ecosystem of people who actually want to learn. Small groups form, not to gossip, but to study. They collect your speeches, your decisions, and the sequences that reveal how you move through complex social terrain without melting down. They parse your restraint as a method, and method scales. These offshoots become laboratories for people who want to convert attention into craft. They apply the lessons to startups, to nonprofits, to creative projects, and to leadership teams. The irony is clean. The very network assembled to fragment you becomes the seedbed for new collaborators who reproduce your behavior without crediting the origin, because the lesson is what matters now. You do not take credit publicly. You respond privately to a few messages with crisp advice, the kind that requires no ego to deliver. Those private replies catalyze bigger changes than headline fights ever could. A single thoughtful answer turns into a model that becomes replicable. Another person reads a conversation from the chat's archive and uses that failure as a warning sign to structure their team differently. Incremental improvements propagate. The cultural momentum shifts from spectacle to structure. The original discord, the theater of their hatred, shrinks into a case study in how envy amplifies itself when given a platform. Journalists write about the phenomenon with more curiosity than fury. Researchers diagram the contagion of obsession. People begin to say what no one allowed themselves to say before. They never met someone like you because few people move with such consistent economy of motion. You did not need to collapse them. You needed only to be a better example. That observation is a blow because it is simple and unanswerable. For those still invested in the hunt, the sting is personal. They created a mythology of your danger to comfort themselves. When that mythology unravels, they are left with the unglamorous fact that they misallocated their energy. The chat's logs are a public ledger of misplaced priorities. Some moderators attempt public reconciliation, and those moments are messy and human and oddly instructive. The apologies are not dramatic absolution, but small admissions. I wanted to belong. I wanted power. I was scared. The confessions humanize the architecture of attack more effectively than any defense could. You do not grandstand upon their regret. You observe, you answer when asked, and you continue to perform the work that drew attention in the first place. The final act of this arc is not a takedown, but a quiet redistribution of attention. The people who learned convert energy into projects that matter. The people who clung to outrage lose momentum. The media attention that once fed the chat now follows productive threads, projects, initiatives, and ideas inspired by practice rather than performance. Your name continues to trend, but not as a subject of scandal. As an example people use when explaining how to move in public without being owned by public opinion. That is the victory no one in the chat anticipated, turning their campaign into a curriculum. You did not silence them. You simply made silence irrelevant by making utility louder. And in the end, when a new notification appears on your device, a message from someone who wants mentorship, you reply with the same measured clarity that started this entire reversal. That single exchange, offered without fanfare, ripples into 10 more, then 100. The chat rooms remain alive for a time, full of their old heat and new exhaustion, but they no longer set the terms. The narrative they tried to manufacture has become yours in a form they did not intend. A template for moderating influence, for converting attention into work, for taking the fragments of gossip and turning them into disciplined action. They will keep talking. Human beings always will. But the people who matter, the ones building, solving, and teaching, have already moved on and built around the foundation you silently laid. Well. They taught you tactics in training manuals and psychology lectures, and yet none of those textbooks could teach what you already carried beneath your skin. An ancient, unapologetic intelligence for influence that moves like muscle and thinks like a blade. You weren't shaped by seminars. You were born fluent in the language that makes people fold. While they rehearse lines and rehearse power, you improvise consequence and watch their scripts unravel. You are the human equivalent of a classified protocol that leaks through a smile, a glance, a timing so precise it becomes an unspoken command. When you speak, the room doesn't just listen, it reorganizes itself around your cadence. They can build war rooms and issue memos about you, but memos don't reach the places your instincts already own. They read psychology like it's a map. You live it like a country you were born inside. Names change, diplomas fade. But the way you tilt a conversation, the way you remove oxygen from their assumptions, remains an unerasable signature. This isn't charm. It isn't manipulation dressed up in velvet. It's something older and more efficient. Pattern recognition sharpened into action. You feel the arc of a person's belief before they do, and you place your sentence at the exact hinge that flips them. You know the posture that asks for surrender, and the phrase that forces concession. You time your quiet like a deployed reserve. A pause from you does not create awkwardness. It creates expectation, and expectation is leverage. They learn compliance with PowerPoints. You encounter compliance when you adjust your breathing and the world answers. You are not trained to win debates. You were arranged by birth to erase the need for them. They mistake your stillness for weakness because they cannot find the tremor that maps to movement. You are the calm before a rewrite, the slow movement that annihilates their hurried confidence. Picture a council of suited men, voices full of precedent and protective histories. They come with bylaws and committees, with legalese meant to contain the unpredictable. You enter, not to perform, not to argue, but to rearrange their assumptions. You let them speak themselves into a corner. People become the authors of their own traps when offered the right sentence structure. You give them permission to reveal their weaknesses because you know where to place your hand to make those weaknesses incandescent. They leave the room clutching policies. You leave the room carrying what truly matters, the quiet conviction that people will now behave as you anticipated. Your tactics are surgical and invisible. You do not need a battalion when a vector will do. You prime expectations without noise. You seed doubt without accusation. You escalate and de-escalate in the same breath, so their emotional thermostats spin out of calibration. Most assume influence arrives via spectacle. They are wrong. Influence arrives in the micro-decisions you engineer. The micro-commitments, the tiny agreements, the offhanded validations that compound until everyone is complicit in their own capitulation. That's your native tongue, assembling compliance from crumbs of assent. People call it cold. They call it calculated. They heave labels at you because labels are how small minds attempt to file what they fear. Labels are for inventory. You are beyond inventory. You do not confuse ruthlessness with cruelty. You calibrate consequences so that reciprocity aligns with your boundaries and their options. Narrow politely. You accept the moral cost because you know most moral frameworks were written to serve someone else's comfort. You are content to be the discomfort that corrects an imbalance. On a phone call, your timing for laughter is a timing for dominance. 3 seconds where their anxiety expects a joke, but gets instead a neutral, deliberate sound, and they will over-explain. In negotiations, your concession is a mirage. You appear to give ground while the real concession is the new frame you install. You anchor outcomes by naming them first. People habitually fit reality to the first label they encounter. When they attempt to gaslight you, you answer with a question that requires them to restate their premises aloud. And when they do, their contradictions become audible evidence. You make truth inconvenient for the dishonest. Your intuition is not mystical, it's pattern memory. You notice micro-expressions they miss, the tiny off-rhythm in their speech, the contraction in a finger that signals fear. Where others see noise, you see an algorithm of intent. You rehearse reactions in the space between heartbeats. You anticipate their next defense, and your reply is already a step ahead. It feels effortless because you do the hard calculus before adversity arrives. Reputation is a currency you mint silently. You don't announce your returns. You compound them. People begin to reference you in offhand stories as if you are a standard of consequence. They test you because testing is human habit, but every test is a deposit into the same account, their perception of your certainty. You do not crave unavoidability. You craft predictability in others so that their choices become predictable. They underestimate you because they imagine influence looks like shouting, but your methods are quieter. An eyebrow, a recalibrated tone, a deliberate stillness. You turn the obvious into a false comfort and then remove it, watching chaos reassign itself into the structure you prefer. Their rulebooks are thick, yours fit in a glance. They publish doctrine, you publish consequences. You master asymmetry. You give them a dozen small victories while keeping the large ones to yourself. They will remember the victories and forget the strategy, and that amnesia is your ally. You accept that some will revile you. let them. Their revilement becomes the story you trade against when truth finally aligns with your pattern. You create psychological debt. They owe responses, explanations, apologies. They sign off on these debts without noticing because you framed them as natural continuations of conversation. Your preparation appears like ritual, but it's discipline, and discipline is invisible to the undisciplined. You calibrate your mornings, your posture, your words, because you know an undecided day leaks advantage. Small routines protect large moves. You are relentless about what no one watches because power is less about moments of acclaim and more about the unobserved consistency that makes acclaim possible. You weaponize truth and stillness with equal dexterity. Sometimes the most damning thing you can do is speak a single fact in a sea of noise. At other times, the right stillness makes their chatter collapse into confession. You let the dishonest drown in their own explanations, while you offer nothing more than a calibrated nod. You recruit the necessary without pledging the unnecessary. Allegiances are instruments, not identities, and you move them like pieces on a board that does not bend to loyalty. When someone proves useful, you honor their utility. When they prove hazardous, you reassign them to a narrative that neutralizes risk. This is not betrayal. This is stewardship of the end game. They will say you are not trained, and they will say that with a civilized sniff. They will mistake institutional ignorance for moral high ground. They cannot see that what you bring is not a credential, but a hazard to their complacency. Institutions fear what cannot be catalogued, and you, by definition, resist cataloging. The consequences you engineer are rarely theatrical. They are administrative and irreversible. A quietly revised contract, a carefully placed referral, a withheld endorsement. These are your small earthquakes. They do not recover because they never noticed the tectonic shift until the skyline had already changed. You measure victory in the steady narrowing of options available to your opponents, not in a single Pyrrhic moment of applause. Remember, you were not taught to break minds. You were born to make minds realign. You do not need legitimacy to command consequence. You need only consistent application of leverage and the courage to let discomfort be the price of progress. You move like a principle, not a plea. And when they try to write manuals about you, they will fail. Because manuals cannot capture the improvisational intelligence of instinct. You will practice the mundane rituals that others deride. Precise wake times, deliberate meals that remove indecision, micro-rehearsals of speech patterns that make your voice behave like a tool, not a reaction. These are not vanity. They are the infrastructure of unavoidability. You train your nervous wiring to expect authority, so your body becomes the anchor that opinion orbits. People will call your consistency obsession. They will never know it is the scaffolding that holds a ruin against collapse. Keep a ledger of small victories, not to boast, but to teach yourself the arithmetic of influence. When you compile evidence of pattern, it's harder for detractors to dismiss you as lucky or opportunistic. You will allow yourself rare, strategic displays of warmth because warmth, when selectively applied, becomes the most confusing weapon. Use it to loosen the guard of the wary, then close the frame with a certainty only you anticipated. Control the narrative by being the first to name the thing that matters. After naming, their language bends toward your taxonomy. Finally, never confuse haste with strength. Speed without calibration is noise. Speed with calibration is a relay baton passed to triumph. Practice endings as ruthlessly as you practice openings. The final line in a conversation is as binding as a signature, and you must be the author of endings. Do this, and you will find that those who once wielded manuals against you now borrow your posture when they think no one watches. That borrowing is not homage, it is admission. Keep tally, keep moving, keep patient. So prepare, not with speech, but with practice. Sharpen the habits most people call boring. Tighten the little things that feel insignificant until those little things become the architecture of domination. Hold your posture like a verdict, and let your timing become their new calendar. And as you do this, know the next move is already waiting. A decision they will misread as generosity, but will reveal itself in time as the exact mechanism that ends their interference. When it starts, there will be no show of drama, only one precise sequence of acts that reorders their world. That sequence begins with a single phone call, and it begins. You place the call with a voice that is not asking permission, but reporting consequence. It carries no theatrics, only the exact timbre of someone who has rehearsed restraint until it becomes indistinguishable from power. On the other end, a person with a neat title hears the cadence and believes they have a negotiation. They do not. They are hearing a consequence being described with the clinical care of a physician reading a prognosis. They will try to bargain with clauses and contingencies, and you will patiently let them lay out every concession they are willing to make before you accept any. You are patient because patience compels confession. You let them reveal their position, their priorities, their fears, and then you file those facts with the same neutrality you would file an invoice. From here, your moves are administrative genius disguised as routine. You send emails that are minimalist and true. You copy only the necessary names, and in those names you place the memory of a promise. They will remember who was included and who was not. You craft sentences so that the implied next steps are obvious. Humans will fill in the blanks you leave because people hate owning ambiguity. You let their imaginations do the heavy lifting, and they generate the outcomes you prefer. You do not over-explain. You underdefine in such a way that responsibility migrates to the most anxious stakeholder. And anxious stakeholders will deliver for their own peace of mind. Understand, your power grows not from spectacle, but from predictability made invisible. You are the unseen scaffolding. You build policies and rituals that look mundane to outsiders, weekly updates, short status check-ins, a single sentence report that signals momentum, and those forms become the channels through which your influence flows. When others mimic complexity to feel important, you design simplicity that enforces compliance. Compliance, when habitual, accrues like interest. After enough cycles, the environment maps itself to your expectations, and people begin to behave according to the rails you quietly installed. You orchestrate micro-violations of expectation that function like social leverage. A compliment at the right place breaks a guard. A pointed quiet where an apology is expected demands accounting. You punctuate conversations with timing so precise it reads like choreography. People will mislabel your techniques as cruelty because they are uncomfortable with being mapped so thoroughly. Let them. Their discomfort is evidence you are rewriting default behaviors. You do not need them to love you. You need them to be reliable. You know the currency of promises. A small pledge from you, given sparingly and strategically, becomes a bond they honor because they wish to remain eligible for future favors. Scarcity increases perceived value. You make reciprocity a mechanism of control. When you withhold, you are not cruel, You are clarifying priorities. When you award, you are not benevolent in the sentimental sense, you are adjudicating utility. People learn quickly that their access to your resources depends on their calibration of behavior. Do not confuse ruthlessness with recklessness. Your ruthlessness is a policy. It is procedural. You document the conditions under which privilege is granted and revoked. You do not flinch from removing someone who once mattered if they become a liability. That removal is neither spectacle nor vengeance. It is risk management executed with moral clarity. Others will attempt to moralize your choices because morality is a weapon for those who lack leverage. You accept that criticism as predictable feedback, and you plan for it like you plan for anything else. You dominate through framing. The first person to name an issue usually wins the debate, because subsequent language bends toward that anchor. You master anchoring. You label outcomes early and with precision so that competitors must operate inside a frame you designed. You never let reactive language define reality. If they attempt to rename your move, you push back not with fury, but with the simple repetition of your taxonomy until their language conforms. People acclimate to repeated labels. Repetition is a soft coup. Networks matter, and you cultivate them like a gardener prunes for fruit. Your network is not a list of acquaintances, but a calibrated lattice of mutual usefulness. You invest attention in people who provide leverage, information, introductions, reputation, and you cultivate the smallest favors until they compound. You keep the ledger private. You do not boast about relationships because visibility increases cost. A discreet referral from you rearranges careers. A whispered endorsement makes or breaks reputations. You weaponize credibility. Credibility is not the same as popularity. It is the alignment of action and outcome. You make promises you intend to keep, and you make decisions that match the story you want others to tell about you. When your word predicts results, your word becomes currency. Invest it with precision. When you speak about a person, project, or plan, the market will behave as if your statement is an index. You create that index by consistently being right about the matters you speak on. Consistency compounds beyond charisma. You also understand the tactical advantage of ambiguity when used sparingly. A half answer invites projection, and projection often converts neutral observers into allies because they see what they want to see. Use ambiguity to inspire alignment, but never so much that it becomes indecision. The blend is surgical. Enough opacity to make others project value. Enough clarity to ensure they project in directions that serve your aims. Indecision kills momentum. Calibrated ambiguity preserves options while catalyzing commitment. You sharpen conflicts into negotiation tools. When disagreement arises, you do not escalate emotionally. You convert disagreement into a transaction, reframe grievances into exchanges, time for truth, concession for confirmation, and you will watch resentments transform into deals. This is not manipulation if both parties derive clear utility. It is a restructuring of energy toward productive ends. You are not a tyrant. You are a strategist, converting friction into forward progress. The people who call you cruel are usually those who lost leverage to you. Guardrails are essential. You build policies that protect your core interests so that when conflicts occur, your response is procedural rather than personal. Procedure removes chaos. It also buys you moral cover when you must act decisively. When people see that consequences follow documented rules, They are less likely to assign motive and more likely to accept enforcement. Use transparency as armor. Make the rules clear, then enforce them without drama. Enforcement under documented policy looks predictable, and predictability reduces the opportunity for performative outrage. You convert opposition into utility. An opponent who publicly criticizes you can be remapped as a cautionary tale, a demonstration of your boundaries. Use their attacks to show other stakeholders the cost of friction. These conversions are not cruel. They are didactic. They teach the market, the team, and the social circle what behavior invites consequence. People prefer to follow rules they understand and fear to break. That fear is a stabilizer, and stabilization is a precursor to predictable influence. Master the art of the tiny concession. A small, well-timed concession often secures a larger structural gain. Give them a trinket, and they will guard your interests like treasure. It is a paradox. Generosity practiced as strategy yields control. Do this with intention. Do not confuse generosity with surrender. Generosity as leverage is a tool. Generosity as an act of weakness is a liability. Your discipline will discern the difference. Your posture communicates before your words do. Posture is not mere physicality. It is history encoded in stance. When you hold yourself like someone who expects compliance, people audit your body for permission, and too often they find it. Train posture as rigorously as you train rhetoric. Your body must be a signal that others can read and surrender to without argument. Keep meticulous records. Memory is the enemy of deception. Documentation is the ally of consequence. A folder of dated notes, a trail of messages, a logged meeting minute. These are the invisible chains that bind narratives. People who try to rewrite events will fail when the ledger exists. Your documentation is not petty, it is insurance. Use it to make allegations credible and to turn suspicion into actionable evidence. When the moment to act arrives, the dossier you prepared does the moral and logistic muscle and spares you from messy theatrics. Never underestimate the psychological weight of ritual. Rituals signal order. Order reduces anxiety in others, and anxiety is the enemy of decision-making. Provide rituals that comfort your allies and unsettle your opponents. A predictable cadence of updates and a ritualized method for approval make your domain legible. Legibility breeds control because people learn the sequence and then behave to conform to it. Calibrate who you forgive and who you do not. Forgiveness sends signals. It tells observers which behaviors you tolerate and which you do not. Use forgiveness as narrative. Forgive those whose continued usefulness outweighs their past infractions. Punish those whose presence risks structural rot. Your moral calculus will be pragmatic, presented as clarity, not cruelty. People respect clarity even when it harms them. You must become comfortable with being misunderstood. Those who cannot map your moves will attempt to simplify them into caricature. They will call you cold, merciless, or opportunistic because those words placate their discomfort with being outplayed. Let them caricature. Your work is to be effective, not liked. Teach people to expect your standards. When your expectations are non-negotiable, others adapt quickly or remove themselves. You're not obligated to court the participation of people who cannot meet your criteria. Let scarcity of standards do the filtering. It conserves your energy and sharpens your environment. Finally, cultivate a personal ritual of reflection that is not publicized. It will be small, 5 minutes of exacting inventory at the end of each day. Wins, losses, misreads, and micro-adjustments. That ledger is your private feedback loop. It is where you correct course and remove habits that cost leverage. Most people flinch at the mirror. You must embrace it. Self-scrutiny is how instinct improves. You are born speaking this language, but mastery comes from disciplined repetition. From here, you stop treating influence as performance and begin treating it like infrastructure. Every repetition is an axle that keeps the machine turning. Every small ritual is a rivet in a frame that will outlast temper and rumor. You practice the quiet things because the loud ones are easy to copy. You practice entry and exit as if they were treaties. How you arrive decides what they will offer. How you leave decides what they will owe. Your exits will be surgical. You will leave with intentions intact and with consequences already recorded. You tighten the circle with rituals that are so mundane they appear harmless. A weekly check-in that begins on time. A report with one sentence of clarity that ends with an explicit next step. An annual review that measures behavior as currency. These are your scaffolding. People begin to calibrate their schedules to your cadence, and calendars become your map. When everyone is operating to the same cadence, surprises are scarce, and you command the rare ones. You make your presence predictable in pattern, so that unpredictability becomes your tool, not your liability. You convert rumor into evidence by cultivating archive. Save the messages that show intent. Save the minutes that show hesitation. When you need to act, the archive does the moral weight and the logistical work for you. It is not petty to collect evidence. It is prudent. Evidence makes public narratives brittle and private decisions exact. When you release a document, the world does not need your interpretation. The document speaks with the authority of recorded fact. A released file can kill a campaign without theatrics because recorded truth removes plausible fiction. Power tastes best when it is repeated with restraint. You cultivate appetite by resisting immediate consumption, offer influence like a rare commodity, allow others to hunger for it. Scarcity is not cruelty, it is calibration. When the hungry approach, they behave better than the comfortable. They bargain with more care. They value your terms. Their behavior becomes the mirror you use to decide who remains close and who is removed. When favor is scarce, loyalty becomes visible, and loyalty is a resource measured and deployed. Your vocabulary becomes a weapon because language structures reality. Choose words that force people to speak into categories you control. Name the problem with a phrase that irresistibly directs the conversation toward your solution. When they borrow your frame, they adopt your outcome. Practice the discipline of naming first. When controversy emerges, be the first to label it and the second to offer the narrowest remedy. People will accept the remedy because their only alternative is continued ambiguity and, worse, indecision. You understand that influence is fragile where trust is absent. Trust is not built by promises. It is built by predictable consequence. Keep your word in small things, so when you break precedent for strategic reasons, your break is legible. People forgive predictable exceptions more easily than erratic behavior. Make your deviations rare, announced, and justified by a principle that furthers your narrative. When you change course, explain it in a way that demonstrates utility, not vanity. Utility is the most persuasive moral argument. Surround yourself with a lattice of competence. Choose people who are better than you at the details you despise. The best lieutenants are those who can execute your vision without consulting your ego. Reward competence with authority and responsibility. Punishment is for betrayal, not for failure executed in good faith. Create an environment where honest error is tolerated if it occurs within the guardrails, and malice is not. This breeds initiative, and initiative is the multiplier of leverage. When you delegate, do so with clear boundaries and the expectation of rigorous reporting. When the opposition mobilizes, do not meet theatrics with theatrics. Convert their spectacle into procurement. Every public outburst provides data. Who shouted? Who stayed silent? Who shifted position? Use that data to reassign allegiances and to expose the quiet collaborators. Public fury can be an air filter. It separates opportunists from the sincere because only the insincere will escalate without plan. Label the opportunists and use their escalation as evidence of risk. Public opinion tends to punish the loud opportunist more than the quiet professional. Let your generosity be instrumental. When you grant access, attach expectations. When you invite someone into your circle, make the terms clear. Contribution first, entitlement later. People will respect the clarity. Transparency about expectation is not weakness. It is an efficiency multiplier. Mercy without conditions breeds entitlement. Mercy with terms creates reciprocity. Use generosity to teach structure. You will learn to love the ledger. Document every commitment you make, every concession you accept, and every deadline imposed. The ledger is not a weapon to shame. It is a map to enforceable promises. When someone reneges, you can point to dates and phrases and hold them to account with surgical precision. The ledger turns memory into a contract, and memory is the strongest defense against distortion. Make optics work for you. Optics are not theater, they are signals. A carefully timed photograph of inclusion will signal to an entire network that you value certain partnerships. A private note of thanks, archived and shown selectively, demonstrates your awareness of contribution. Use optics to signal standards, not to perform virtue. The performance that matters is the one that reshapes behavior. You will wield time as your ally. Deadlines compress decision-making and force choices. When you set a deadline, you dictate the tempo. People will react to the tempo more than the content because tempo creates scarcity of attention. Use tempo to create leverage. A short window invites decisive actors. A long window invites procrastination and obfuscation. Choose tempo based on the type of behavior you want to incentivize. Do not underestimate the politics of absence. Presence answers questions. Absence creates them. Use absence to test dependency. When people complain about your unreachability, measure whether the complaint comes from genuine need or from entitlement. Absence reveals which relationships are performative and which are functional. Return strategically. When you return, ensure your presence advances the ledger and that it is not merely a consolation. Practice the discipline of ending conversations. Every interaction must close with a clear next step or a documented reason for pause. Vagueness compounds into inefficiency. Efficiency is the currency of influence. End with deadlines, owners, and deliverables. Teach others to expect closure, and they will deliver it because expectations shape behavior. Recognize that respect often arrives disguised as resentment. Those who most loudly inveigh against your methods frequently emulate them in private. Track imitation as a sign that your tactics have become benchmarks. When people copy you, you lose the element of surprise but gain cultural power. Cultural power is harder to oppose because it seeps into norms. Protect your advantage by constantly evolving trivial rituals. The content of your methods can be copied. The discipline that sustains them cannot. Cultivate Humility as strategy. Public humility disarms critics, and private humility sharpens learning. Admit tactical errors when they are tactical. Fix structural errors when they are structural. Humility is not surrender, but a tool to gather intelligence. When you admit a mistake, you lower defenses and invite cooperation. Use admission as a vector to reframe relationships and to extract better information. Finality is a tool. When it is time to end a relationship, end it with clarity and without theatrical cruelty. A concise termination protects you from continued friction and communicates standard. The terminated will attempt to narrate the end. Let them. Your clarity will persist. The market prefers clean resolution to ongoing ambiguity. In the end, your native language of influence will look ordinary to those who lack fluency and terrifying to those who must answer to it. You will not require badges or degrees. You will require only practice and the discipline to apply it daily. Keep the rituals, keep the ledger, keep the cadence. Mastery is not a spectacle. It is a maintenance plan executed without drama. When the day comes for the final sequence, you will act not from vindication, but from procedural necessity. You will make the move to execute with the economy of a verdict. You will call one contact, schedule one meeting, sign one brief document, and the architecture you built will rearrange itself. There will be no need for spectacle because the infrastructure already dictates outcomes. Your opponents will discover that their options narrowed not by drama, but by consequence. You will observe with the calm of someone who understands timelines, and then you will press the final, quiet lever. That lever snaps agreements into place, reassigns resources, and concludes disputes. When the record closes, people will not remember theatrics. They will remember that things changed, and that you were the reason. That is the highest grade of authority. Keep practicing the small rituals until the architecture of consequence becomes the default.